Well, on today's episode of How to Spend $25 to get a grip on things, not like I needed another Vise, but heck, the price was right, and I'm always up for a new project. It's in a little bit of rough shape. The handle's completely rusted into there. Luckily, the screw box seems to still be functioning, so that's a good sign. Looks like it just needs maybe a thorough cleaning. Yeah, there's an awful lot of dirt down in there. Heck, maybe this thing was stored under a table for the last few decades. I think we take it down the whole way, give it a good rehab. This might be pretty solid. A little bit of wear on the jaws. Not terrible though. Well, this is good. I have another post vise, but it's missing the, I guess that's called the frog down there. Yeah, this one's got it. It's a Columbian. It looks like it's about a 5-inch. Kind of want to go at it with a hammer first, but maybe we'll have a little bit more finesse on something like this. The foot's in pretty good shape. Not sure if that means anything. I see what it is missing though. It's missing the spring on the center. So I guess the first order of business is going to be trying to tear this thing apart. I think it's rusty enough that it warrants a full teardown, and you know, as much as you can rebuild one of these things, we're going to try. I'll say it again, I'm just really glad that the threads in the screw box are still functioning on this. You know, compared to how much rust is on this, the handle. I'm thinking this is seized up as well because the jaws weren't opening up. And we'll have to figure out a spring for the inside here. Not too bad at all. We'd have been screwed if that wasn't in good shape. It's definitely got some built up grunge on it. So that seat should clean up. So this thing, it is pretty solidly seized. We're going to use the sledgehammer, you know, sparingly if we can. I don't want to damage it, put any more dents in it than we have to, but if we have to, just some more character. We'll say it came like that, vintage hammer marks. We might try to bust that nut off there, but I'm not getting my hopes up. Yeah. We'll get the wire wheel out and try and knock some of the heavy rust off of those nuts there. See if we can't get them off too. Well, that almost went too easy. It's been a while since I needed to use the cheap jumbo open-end wrench set. We'll just hammer on that a little bit and see what happens. Can't believe this actually broke free. Would have thought the flat side of the washer or the nut would have been on there. Maybe somebody just put it on backwards. Alright. Well, there it is. This thing's still heavy. Well, I don't know about you, but man, I've been waiting for this part all day. I can't wait to start grinding all that rust off there. Yeah. cleaned up pretty nice. We're gonna have to really clean this out well and get all that rust and stuff out of the threads. I'm sure it's all sticking on there because of the grease. Going for this method. Finally, after like an hour. Ha. So I get the rust worn off of it. So now that we've got all the threads cleaned up, throw on a fresh coat of grease and work it back and forth a few times, get everything good and coated. I'm actually pretty impressed with the condition that these jaws are in. I wonder if those are the factory texture marks on there for grip. So if you look close, if it'll focus, some black paint on there. So I think that's what we're going to go with. Go back to the factory black. Get any color you want, as long as it's black. And we're going to go with a satin because something this old shouldn't be that shiny. And you know, this just happens to be sitting on the shelf, so everything cleaned up pretty nice actually, which is surprising for the amount of rust that was on there. I would have thought this this vise had quite a bit of use on it. I mean, you look at the sharpness of that jaw. I mean, this thing's had hardly any abuse to it. The handle is going to be the roughest part. That was probably what was sitting down in the dirt, why it had the most rust damage. And well, it's got some character pitting on there from all the rust, but at least we got it working without having to cut it apart or go to some drastic measures. Alright, got away with a half a can of paint. Let that cure. Had to clean up the threads on the big nut. Well, there it is, all painted up. I'm sure it won't look that nice for long. I'll have to get the scale out and actually weigh it, see what it comes in at. Well, the next step though is to make a spring return to open the jaws up. Now I guess the normal ones have that fancy leaf spring looking thing down in the bottom. I've seen a couple where they just put a coil spring down in there, and although that would be easier, I mean, you're probably going to smash that and it'll probably get damaged over time. So I think we're going to try and replicate that, you know, the leaf type spring down at the bottom. And I just happen to have a Suzuki Samurai leaf pack laying around with some nice thin leaves. That almost fits in there. Have to do a little bit of trimming, some bending. Now this would be a perfect project to actually use in the forge and you know, try and blacksmith it the old school way, but that's a whole other day's project right there, so we may have to do this quick and dirty. Well, there's that leaf spring. All I did was chop it down and throw it into the press and bend it, and we learned a valuable lesson. You got to heat them leaf springs. You bend them too much and they crack. That one's actually cracked, but it's working for now, so We'll run it till it blows. And that about does it for now. I just need a workbench to mount it to. And remember, keep your standards low and your spirits high.